participants. So then it will be according to some set of procedures. Okay, some set of procedures you are going to have. Now, once that particular process has been defined, so we have discussed about many scientific experiments yesterday. So you're going to have the scientific experiments. So where this particular scientific experiment, the example is your scientific experiment is going to have. So that particular scientific experiment will be having some workflow. So it's nothing but whatever the scientific experiment you are going to have, how we are going to solve that particular scientific experiment. So it's nothing but the problems which are going to have. So now, what are this particular business process consist of? If you have the problem statement, I have to solve that particular problem. Okay, so I have to solve that particular problem. So now what the process consists of? So process is nothing but what? Combination of problem statement. So if you take the business process or experiment, it's a combination of problem solving component. So it will be the combination of problem solving component which you are going to have. So once you have the problem solving component, which you are going to have combination. So there you are going to have the, it is going to represent it during DAG. So where the DAG stands for directed acyclic graph. So it is going to be part of directed acyclic graph. You are going to have that one. So that particular process. Okay. So now if it is a directed acyclic graph, it is going to have. So what it suggests? It suggests that there is having a dependencies. Okay. It is having the dependency. So it is going to suggest that it is having dependencies among each other. Okay, so it's having the dependencies. Depending upon the dependencies, it is going to work. Or so it's going to work depending upon, so if there is dependencies there, but what the process is going to have. So all the process which you are going to have, so in your business process, it has to be isolated from one another. So isolated from one another. So if it has to be efficiently, if you want to solve the problem, if you want to solve the problem efficiently, how my business process should be there, how my workflow should run. So workflow should run without having the dependency between one process and the other process, but it is not the case. So sometimes what will happen, there will be a dependency. So now with the help of the dependency, we are going to have to slow down the work. So that is going to have the composition of several services which you are going to have. So when you are going to have the isolated from one another, so if you take the business process or if you take the workflow technology, so if you take the workflow technology, so what the workflow technology consists of here, so the workflow technology is going to have, so it is going to have the different services. Okay, it's going to have the composition of different services. So when you are going to have the composition of services which you are going to have. Now, once you have the composition of services or collection of services which you are going to have, so you have to solve that particular problem. Okay. So now to solve this particular problem, so composition of services are there. These services, whatever you are going to have, with the help of these services, you are going to solve that particular business problem. So now for to achieve that one, so what you should have, we should have some specific languages. Okay, some specific existing languages you should have, so which will be used to solve that particular specific purpose. Okay, specific languages you are going to have. So we are going to make use of that particular specific language, and you are going to use the workflow technologies, and you are going to have that one. So there are a number of open source open source scientific workflow engine which are there in the world. Okay, so there are so many open source scientific workflow engine are there. So open source scientific workflow engine which are there in the market. So using that particular open source scientific workflow which you are going to have. So the example here, what you are going to have is Kepler. So Kepler, you can go through it and you can see it. What are the different features that particular Kepler open source scientific workflow is going to be provided, and the other is this particular Kepler what we are going to have. So it is going to be make use of the Ptolemy 2 system component. So it is going to have, it is going to make use of the Ptolemy system 2 component which you are going to have. System 2 component it is going to have. Okay. So now these are some of the models which you are going to have and workflow technologies which is to be used. So depending upon the type of the language which you are going to use. So now once you have this particular part, so you're going to have the some processing language. So the language which you are going to have here is, So what you are going to process? You are going to process the business. Okay, the business process, the business workflow which you are going to have, that particular business workflow, it is going to be processed. So if you are working, if you are processing the business process working language, so then that particular language is called as BPCL. Okay, so that particular language is referred as BPEL. Okay, BPL. So BPEL here refers to what? Business process execution language. So it is going to refer as business process execution language. So it is going to have the business process execution language which is going to have. So this particular business process execution language which you are going to have, so always it will be having some specifications. Okay, so if you have the business process execution languages, this particular languages will be having some languages it is going to have. So what are these languages? We will see that one now next. Okay, so next, when you are going with the hierarchy or abstraction of your abstraction model of your workflow system, it is going to look like this. Okay, so if you take the workflow engine of your workflow technology, abstract way of the workflow technology, it is going to workflow like this. So you can see it here at the top. It is going to be divided into the workflow component is divided into two components. One is a build time, other is a runtime. Because when you are starting to solve any given problem, so if you want to, yeah, if you are going through the software engineering, so there you should have first you should have the requirement, right? So build time is required. So if you want any project to be completed or any task to be completed or any problem which you have been gone through, if that particular problem has to be have to be overcome, so what is the problem type of, so how to overcome that particular problem, so how much time it requires to build that particular prototype of that particular problem you should have. So that is going to divide it into two types here. So from the figure you can see it here. One is you are going to have the build time, other is you are going to have the run time. Okay, so in the build time, what we are going to have, the build time is be done by the users. So here, what the users is going to do, so the users are going to define, contact with the stakeholders who are involved in that particular formation of the workflow. So they are going to workflow application modeling and defining the tools which is required for that particular purpose. It is going to have, they are going to uh, define that particular workflow. Okay, so your workflow design and definition is going to happen in your build time. Okay, so your workflow design and definition is going to happen in your build time. So once your workflow design and definition is going to happen here, so this particular workflow, so what are the different resource information service you are going to have, so that I should have, so interaction with information services, so that means it has to come out of this particular workflow, and what are the interactions you are going to do with respect to the information services. So there are a number of information services you are going to have. So what type of information service you are going to make use of, that has to be decided during the build time. That has to be decided by the build time. So now you are going to have the workflow specifications here. So who is going to hold the workflow specification? It is nothing but a middleware. Okay, so your workflow specification is telling what it is acting as a middleware between your build time and the runtime. So when your workflow specification is acting as a middleware between your build time and the runtime of a workflow. So this will be written in some languages, right? So that particular language is called as BPEL language. It stands for Business Process Execution Language. So when you are going to have that particular business process execution language with respect to the workflow specifications, so now what it is going to have, so what that particular specification in your workflow language is going to be provided. So it is going to control the execution. Okay, so it is going to workflow specifications, it is going to have the language. That particular language functionality is what? That language functionality is to control the execution of the overflow. So how it is going to control the flow, control the execution of the overflow? It is going to control the execution of the overflow by leveraging the distributed infrastructure. So that means it is going to give the distributed infrastructure which is required to build that particular or to solve that particular problem during the runtime. What are the necessary infrastructure you require? So that particular necessary requirement are to be executed by WOM by using your workflow language. So that particular workflow language is called as business process execution language. So normally, if we take the workflow enactment engine, so what it contains? So if we take the workflow execution and control block, so here, so what that particular workflow execution and control block contains, so your workflow execution and control blocks contains the workflow enactment engine. So in this particular workflow enactment engine, it's going to have the task plus data scheduler. So whatever the task you are going to have, so task is nothing but it is a part of the application where you require to solve where you are running any process to solve a particular problem. So now whatever the task you are going to have, so that has to be run right to execute it. So if that particular task is it is formed, and if you are not working that particular task, means what, it is not, that particular work is not be completed. So then it is again you are going to waste it. So now once the task is built, so once the task is built, so what are the requirement for that particular task, I have to look into that one. After looking to that what are the requirement of that particular task, using the data scheduler, I have to schedule that particular task. How the dependency is there, I should know. What are the different interpreter you're going to have. The language interpreter should be there between when you're combining two different languages. So they should understand with respect to each other, right? So when they are communicating at the client side, if it is having the different language, and if it is the server side is going to have the different language. So it's a basic example is your web based. So if you have gone through the web programming, you will be knowing. So if on the website you are going to have the reviews, the different technology to build your website, and the client side if they are using the different technology, so what they have to do, so they have to communicate. So when you are opening the page, means what, they have to communicate between each other. So when they want to communicate with each other, they should have some interpreter to tell you that, so this is the language what it is coming from the server side. So you cannot understand this particular language. I am, as an interpreter, I will convert that particular language into the language which you can understand. Okay, so that is what the language interpreter is going to do. So it is going to translate the language to the understandable form of the present system. Okay, so it's going to translate the form. So then there is a dependency manager is there. That particular block is going to look after that. What are the different dependency you are going to have in that particular uh, task, or in that particular business process you are going to have. So then you have to check that what are the data which is available, and what are the data which is more data movement, what type of data are coming and going between the two different process or two different tasks. You should know that one. So if any fault occurs, so that what type of fault is occurring, due to what the fault has been occurred, so where I have to rectify that particular part, I should know that one. So now once it is done, the overflow dependency, everything, when it is language and interpreter has been calculated, so that will be given, that will be achieved by what? But will be achieved by leveraging the distributed infrastructure, which will be at the last bottom block. So you are interacting with the distributed resources. So you are going to have the leveraging using the distributed resources. So the only workflow specification will be written in your XML language. Okay. So XML stands for extended markup language. Okay. So XML language stands for extended markup language. So that particular specifications, whatever it is going to have, that particular specification is going to be stored in the form of XML language. Okay. So that language contains how the flow has to go. What are the dependencies are there? When I have to interpret it, when I should do the interpretation of that particular task. So when I should have the dependency, if there is dependency, from where the resource has to get, I should know that one. So all these things has to be specified in one document, which is nothing but your XML document. Okay, that specification is going to be specified in the XML document. So next, once you have got that particular type, so the overflow language which you are going to have, so that is going to control the execution of the overflow. Okay, so the XML language, the workflow language which you are going to have, that is going to control the execution of the workflow by using what? By leveraging the distributed infrastructure. By leveraging the distributed infrastructure, it's going to control the execution. So now if you take the workflow engine, so what side it is, whether it's a server side or the client side is the next question. So if you take the workflow engine, so workflow engine is normally a client side component. Okay. So with they have the client side with whom it is going to interact. So basically it is going to interact with the resources with one of the middleware from executing the workflow. Okay. So your workflow is going to be there. So workflow engine is a client side component. So that is going to basically interact with the resources as with one of the middleware for executing the program. So this is a typical abstract model of the workflow system, what it contains, how the interaction will be done with the distributed resources. So here you can have the middleware between your workflow execution and control unit and interaction with the distributed resources. So between this one also, there will be one middleware will be there. So in the middleware, what it is going to do? So the middleware will help that to whom I have to how the distributed infrastructure has to be provided. So whether I have to make use of the cluster, or whether I have to make use of the data grid, or whether I have to make use of the supercomputer, that has to be taken care by the middleware. Okay, that has to be taken care by the middleware. So that's what it is going to have. So there are some of the acyclic directed graph managers is going to be there in the Condor project. If you take the Condor, is one of the task computing types of the task computing which we have already discussed. So in that one, so the scheduler is going to handle job interdependencies. Okay, so it is going to have the job scheduler. That particular scheduler is going to do what? So that is going to do the scheduling the job which is having the interdependencies is there. Okay. So next, some of the cloud bus workflow management system is one of the workflow management service which is there, which will be acting as a platform also. So your Kepler is open source. Kepler is nothing but the open source workflows engine. So it is going to be built depending upon the cooperation of several projects. So that particular platform is going to develop data flow oriented flow. So that means how the data is going to flow. So that is going to see that one. And depending upon the flow of the data, so that particular Kepler is going to be developed. Okay. So it's going to be basically developed using data flow oriented workflow. So it is going to provide you the design environment based on the concept of actors. Okay, that you are going to study in your user interface design. So what are the actors and how the actors is going to be helped. So here they are going to give only the term as actor. So once you come to that particular subject, you come to know what are the different actors are of type. So then after having the different execution model, and after saying that whether the dependency are there or not, so the computation such as web service or data calls so is going to be made. So the connections between the client and the server will be done through the ports. So can anyone tell that how many ports are there in your system? How many ports are there? According to the normal communication when you are doing with respect to the one system to the another system, you have to communicate through some ports in your system. So can anyone tell how many ports are there? If you know the answer. So if you know the answer, you can tell. Okay. So if you don't know the answer, we will move further. So the total number of ports which you are going to have if you take your UDP segment format. Okay, if you take the UDP segment format. So in your UDP segment format, you are going to have 16-bit reserved for your source port and the destination port, right? So if you have recalled that one, that UDP segment format. So that 16-bit is refers to a port. Okay. So totally, when you're talking with respect to the bits, that is 16-bit, the total number of ports it will be in 2 power 16. So that means the number of ports which will be there in your system is from 0 to 65,535. So that means the total number of ports is 65,536. But the number starts from port 0 to 65,535. Out of this particular port, so your 1023, 1024 ports is a reserved port. Okay, 1024 ports is a reserved port. So in the remaining ports can be used for any of the experimental purpose which you are going to have. So that's what it is going to have with respect to the workflow technologies. So next, when it comes to the Aneka-based, so next is about Aneka-based task programming. So anybody having any doubt with respect to the workflow technology? So anybody having any doubt? So if you have any doubt, you can ask. So if you have any doubt with respect to the workflow technology. Sorry, following? Students? Whether people are following or not. So now, next, and the last topic in this particular module is Aneka task-based programming. Okay. So the last part in this particular module is Aneka. So if you take the Aneka, here it is going to have the Aneka task-based programming. So if you talk about the Aneka task-based programming, so it is going to Aneka provide supports for all flavors of task-based programming by having the So task programming model. So your Aneka is going to have the task programming model. Using that one, it is going to provide the support. Using task programming model, which is going to be having. Okay, so using task programming model, which is going to have. So it is going to provide the support. So it task using task programming, it provides support. Okay, so when it is providing the support which you are going to have, so it is going to support the execution of backs of task applications. So when you are going to have the task applications is normally provided using the common execution flow. Okay, so that is how the task-based programming which will be helpful in your Aneka. So now, so what it is going to provide. So when you are discussing about the Aneka, so as we are saying that with respect to the task-based application, the task-based application is going to provide you the distributed application on top of Aneka. So it is mainly used. So if you are going with the Aneka task programming, so what it is going to provide is, so what it is going to provide is the next question. So what it is going to provide? So it is basically, it is going to provide you the abstraction. So it is going to basically provide you the abstraction. Okay, so it is basically providing to the abstraction, which will abstraction which will use to quickly develop the, which will be used to quickly develop the distributed applications. Okay, it will be used to quickly develop the distributed applications. Okay, where it is going to build on top of the Aneka, on top of Aneka platform which you're going to have. So this particular Aneka based task-based programming is going to be used. Okay, so basically it is going to make use of the task programming model. Okay, it is going to have the task programming model, and with the help of the task programming model, so it is going to make use of that particular environment, and is going to assign that particular distributed applications to all the resources. So now here, whatever the developer it is going to be created. So here, who is going to create the distributed applications? Application will be there. So, but someone has to create that particular application as different task, right? So who is going to develop that one? So it is going to be developed by the developers. Okay. So here you are going to have the developers. So developers, what it is going to do? So as a developer, you are going to have the applications. So it is going to have the, it is the developers is going to create distributed applications. So here you are going to have the developers. Developers basically creates what? It is going to basically provides your develop distributed application in terms of what? In terms of IT instances. Okay, so it is going to create the application in terms of IT instances. It is going to have. So it's going to have the IT instance where collective execution is going to happen. So where that particular collective executions is going to happen, that will be done. So whenever the task is been running, so whatever the task you are going to have, so if you take the IT instance will be there, so that particular instance is going to create the task here. So whatever the task it is going to have, so these tasks with all the dependencies which they are going to have support the execution of task. So okay, whatever the instance you are going to have, this instance is nothing but the group of tasks. So it is nothing but what? So all these tasks are grouped together. Okay, all these cropped are grouped together. So if I want to achieve the performance with what? I should not have any dependency between the different tasks. Okay, so it has to be grouped together. And how it is managed? It is going to be managed through, and it is going to be managed through the, it is going to be managed through Aneka class. Okay, it is going to be managed through the Aneka task and task manager. Aneka task and task manager. Okay, it's going to have this one. So similarly, the execution service will be there. So it will look after the task execution and monitoring of that particular task, which are going to have. So that particular typical figure is going to be shown here. You can see in this particular figure. So this is what task programming model scenario in your Aneka. So this is a typical figure which they are represented to demonstrate the task programming model scenario. So you can see it here. The Aneka application is there at the bottom, at the left hand side. So where it is going to create the n number of tasks. So it is going to have task 1, task 2, task 3. So then all these tasks will be assigned to the task manager. So in the task manager, what is going to be provided? It is going to create the Aneka task. Okay. So in the Aneka task, what it is going to look into with the help of the dependencies, I mean the application task, it's going to look into that whether the which is having the support for the execution, whether there is any dependencies are there. So whether what are the different actions I have to take with respect to the task manager. So you are going to have the Aneka task in the task manager. So now once you have the Aneka task and the task manager, so whatever it is going to have, so you can see it here, it is combinedly, the Aneka task is combined with the task manager. That means your task manager is acting as what? The wrapper class for your Aneka task. It is acting as a wrapper class for your Aneka task. And when you submit the former is going to have the type wrapper class. Okay, as you can see it here, it is going to have the wrapper class that interacts with the Aneka. Okay, that interacts with the Aneka cloud here. So that is a wrapper class which you are going to have that will be interacting with the Aneka cloud. So while interacting with the Aneka cloud with respect to the Aneka, what are the different operations it is going to provide you? So what are the different operations you are going to provide? So it is going to have the membership catalog will be there, task scheduler is there, storage service is there, storage service is there, one of the operation, then execution task execution service is there. And after that one, inside this particular cloud, these are the several services it will be having. So now, if we take all this thing, so whatever the Aneka task is coming, it is coming to the membership catalog, right? So because when you want to access the resources of the Aneka, I should have the membership first in the Aneka cloud, right? I should have the membership of the in the Aneka cloud. So now first that one, whom I have to request to have the resources or to run that my task inside your Aneka cloud, I have to request that whether my account is, I have to check first that whether my account is available in your Aneka cloud is there or not. So now who is going to have the main access point to this particular cloud, Aneka cloud? Your membership catalog. You can see it from here. Your membership catalog will become a main access point of the cloud. And what it is going to act? It is going to act as a service directory. Okay, it is acting as a service directory and used to locate the task scheduler. So this particular membership catalog it is going to have, so it will be behaving as a service directory. And with the help of this particular membership catalog, so it is going to locate the task scheduler to whom I have to schedule the task. Because when you are running the Aneka task, so it may require some storage service, it may require the compute infrastructure, it may require, I don't know what type of requirement is there for that particular Aneka. So it will come to the membership cloud. So the task scheduler, by seeing the requirements of the Aneka task, it has to schedule to that particular node, okay, within that particular system. So you're going to have the task execution systems which are there. So depending upon the requirement of the requirement which is given by the task scheduler. So task scheduler is going to give you the requirement. Okay. So your task scheduler, what it is going to do, so that is going to manage the execution of task-based applications. So your task scheduler which is there, that is going to be your task-based application is going to give the charge of managing the execution of task-based application. So now, what is the main what we can tell? So what is the main responsibility of that particular task we are going to have? So the main responsibility of the task scheduler is to allocate task instances to resources which are in the execution service for task execution and monitoring task state. That means what I told you is that what is the function of the task scheduler? If I want to assign some work to the student, I should know that for that particular student where the resources are available, right? So now, depending upon the type of the resources available for that particular student, I have to tell that, so this particular resource is available with this particular person. You go to this particular person, your job will be done. Okay. It is like, for example, if you are paying a fees for your college or examination fees, if you want to tell, if you go first, you are going to ask your teacher where I should pay the amount. So now your class teacher will become the scheduler now. So she will tell you that, so you are going to have to pay the fees in your account section first. After getting the fees paid by the account section, that is a resource where you are finding first. After filling the amount in the accounts department, next you have to come and collect the examination application form with the teacher, and then after filling the application form then again I have to fill that after completing the examination form, I have to give back that particular application form to the examination section. So now these are the sequence of operation which is happening. So these are the thing which the task which is being done. First, you have to go to the account section where you have to pay the amount. So next, you have to collect the examination application form. You have to fill that particular application form. And what are the requirements for the application form? You have to fill it and you have to get it. And after filling all the applications, finally, you have to submit that particular application to the examination service. So this is one typical explanation what I am doing, what your task scheduler is going to do, depending upon the type of the task which you are going to have. Okay. So that change of managing the execution of task based application is going to have. Okay. So it is the responsibility of the task scheduler to allocate the task instances for resource featuring the execution services. Okay. So now, so if the application, if any of the application you are going to have, if that particular application requires data transfer report. So the data transfer report can be in terms of data files, maybe there or input or output files are there, and any available storage services there as shown in the figure. And if it will be used as a staging facility for the application, that it will be running on the server. Okay. So this particular features provided by the task module, or completely it will be by web-based. Okay. So it is going to have the completely by the web services that allows any client to submit the execution of task to Aneka. So that's what how the task is going to be scheduled with respect to Aneka. So when you are developing the application with respect to a class model, so with the task model, so when you are developing the applications, for example, so after having the task programming, so there are some of the stages which you need to perform here. So here you can see it here. So how we are going to develop the applications with the task model. So if we take the developing of the application with task model, okay. So here, first is what? When you are defining the applications, it is a wrapper class. I have to define the class because whenever the wrapper comes into the picture, you have to go with the class only. So defining class to implement the IT task infrastructure should be there when you are developing the application with respect to task model. So now I have to create a instance which is of type Aneka. So create configured Aneka application instance. So I have to create the Aneka application instance. So next, after creating and configuring, I have to create IT task instance. I have to create the IT task instance which is to be there. Okay, IT task instance. So then after creating the IT stack instance, I have to wrap it up. That I have to enclose inside the class. So your object is nothing but you have to create it. So object, what do you mean by object? Object is nothing but an instance of a class. So that is what nothing but you are going to create the class. You are going to create the object. So after creating that particular task inside that particular, by creating the object, you are going to wrap it up. That is, you are going to cover it up. Okay. So after wrapping that into Aneka instances. So that will be wrapping into Aneka instances which you are going to have. So the last one is you have to execute the application and wait for its completion. So these are the different steps which has to follow when you are scheduling developing the application with the task model. So there are a number of already built-in functions are there, or built-in namespace models are there, which will be used for your libraries are there, which will be used for your Aneka, which are going to have. So some of the take the, so it is going to have the namespace. So can anyone tell what do you mean by namespace in your C++? If you have gone through that one, it's going to have the namespace called aneka.task. So inside that one, you are going to have the class, which is a public interface iTask. is the class which you are going to have. So inside that one, you are going to execute the task. So inside this particular task, so you are going to execute the task, public void execute. So this is what it is going to happen here. Okay. So this is how your task modeling is going to be supported inside your Aneka. Okay. So this is how it will be done. So this from now onwards is one computer. Next, it will be having the control task execution, which you are going to have. So once you are going to have the control task execution, next it is going to make use of the, once the execution task execution is going to happen, next I have to do the file management. After file management, you are going to have the task libraries. Next is we are going to have the web service integration. So these are nothing but, so these are the several procedures which you need to have. So the first task which you are going to have here is your iTask and Aneka task. We have to differentiate between your iTask and Aneka task which you are going to have. So next we are going to have the controlling the task execution. Second, you are going to have the controlling the task execution you should have. Okay. So after controlling the task execution, you should have the file management. You should have the file management. Third one, you should have the file management, which you should have. So then after having the file management, you are going to have the task libraries. You are going to have the task libraries, which you are going to have by using it. So fifth one, the last one is your web service integration, which you should have. So these are the some of the services which your Aneka is going to be provided. So where the web services submission is going to happen. Okay. So this is how this particular workflow will be managed in your Aneka. So that is completes your task computing. So that completes your module 3 now. So from tomorrow we will start with your module 4. Okay. So which is your data intensive computing. So the computing which will happen depending upon the availability of data and amount of data which you are going to have, how the computing has to be done with respect to the amount of data. So we are going to discuss, we will discuss from tomorrow. So if you have any doubt from today's class, you can ask. So if you have any doubt. So if you have any doubt, you can ask. Okay. So go through it once. So it is interesting. So even if you run the task scheduling in your Linux,